Hello and welcome everyone. And it's another episode of Magical Creators Online Summit. And today's guest is wonderful Tiffany Crossara, who is not just an amazing expert in her field, but I'm so proud that I can call Tiffany my friend. And Tiffany has changed my perception about tarot. And today we will be talking about tarot, but it's from completely different point of view. I know that a lot of people perceive tarot as a prediction tool, or some of my friends who are into angels, into oracle cards, they still dismiss tarot and they think that it's something dark. So our today's purpose of our today talk is to give you a very efficient tool and also give you a different perspective, and hopefully it will change somebody's opinion about tarot, and for others it can be a great discovery. And today's topic in particular is Start Your Day, the Transformational Truth of Tarot 3D Way. And before we jump on the topic, Tiffany, can you tell everyone who you are, what you do?
Thank you, Inga. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you here. My name is Tiffany Crossara. I'm an inner transformation specialist and author. I do specialise in the tarot, as Inga says, but you may have heard in the title the words transformational and truth, and I tend to call it transformational tarot. We will talk to you about that and how that differs from the dangly earrings, fortune-telling gypsy kind of tarot as we go through. But my main specialism is in helping intuitives tune back into themselves, because they're so used to tuning out of themselves. So they use their intuition as outtuition, that all these problems start going on in their life. So and that's a key to you about what my work with the tarot is, and what the tarot is actually predominantly a tool for. It is actually to tune into yourself rather than out of yourself into somebody else. So we're going to flip the whole mindset for you today, and I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic and very exciting. Thank you for having me, Inga.
I can't wait as well. I was waiting for this conversation for such a long time. But you mentioned you're an author, and I've read your books. They are wonderful. Can you let others know what you have written?
Yeah. Okay. So the first book I wrote was The Transformational Truth of Tarot, and that was in 2012. And that won an award for Best Spiritual Book of 2012. And that got me onto TV doing readings, but it was so out of alignment with the things that we're talking about here that I just was like, I've got to come out of that. And that's how I met you, because we started on a course when we were doing online business training, and that's when I launched my online business and made this into a program. My signature program is The Transformational Truth of Tarot. But I wrote another book a year later, Transformational Truth of You, which is basically what the transformational truth of tarot is, but it's replacing that taboo word, right? There's less about it. It's like each chapter is after a tarot card, but it's basically just tuning into the energy. The chapter's about that energy, and it's about the law of attraction, but in a co-creational way. So rather than I've got a great idea, I need to tell the universe about it, it's like, thank you, universe, for giving me that idea. Okay, what do I need to do to help this come through, kind of thing. Then 2018, I went to Mexico in 2016. I had no idea that I was going to come back with the idea for this game. And this game is based on the Fool's Journey, which is this circle part of the design, which we'll talk about in this session, and is basically the hero's journey. Some of you might have heard of that by Joseph Campbell, and we'll talk about how the tarot and the hero's journey and the Fool's Journey, which is basically within the tarot. It's a there's two decks in the tarot. There's the Major Arcana, meaning major box of secrets, and Minor Arcana, meaning minor box of secrets. The Major Arcana, another name for it, is the Fool's Journey. So it's a set of cards that starts with the Fool. And there's 22 of them, and it ends with the World. That is the Fool's Journey. And so that's what this game is about. You go on the Fool's Journey, so you come to it with something that you want to manifest. And then wherever you land, instead of that archetype telling you something, or that card telling you what to do, the archetype, or the god, is another way of saying the same thing, asks you a question, and so you have to come up with the answer. And by the end of the game, you have all the answers, like a plan to make it happen. And that won an award last year as well, most visionary product of 2019.
And I want to mention something, because I had the pleasure to play this game. And it took me by surprise, first of all, because there is no prediction. And I was asking when we met and when it was a possibility to explore this game. So I was just in planning stage of my Magical Creators live event. And there are so many questions I had, because I didn't know how it's going to work, how to best put it together. And so I use this game to, what I thought, getting messages, but in reality, so I got asked questions, and by finding answers to those questions, I get like a clear picture how to make the event a success as it turned out to be. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's a really good point. People come to the tarot thinking it's about guidance, when really it's within. The tarot is just a mirror. It's a synchronistic mirror. So wherever you land on the board, there is a sense of predestined guidance in that way. But really, it's just a mirror. And it's just about going, right, okay, the answer's actually within you. And so we're going to ask you a specific focused question for you to see that it's actually in you. It's far more empowering when we work with it in the way that it's supposed to be worked with. Like if you think about the Temple of Delphi, the Oracle of Delphi, and above there, what's inscribed above there is know thyself. It's not cross my palm with silver and I'll tell you about that tall, dark, handsome stranger down the street that you're going to get it on with. So, it really is. It's a mirror, and it's about helping you to get to know yourself, because that is the hardest and the most important thing to do with your life. When you know yourself, you don't make the wrong decisions. So it's, I guess people call that intuition, but I remember someone saying to me once, Tiffany, I don't want to learn self-development with you. I want to learn how to become psychic. And I was like, well, why do you want to learn how to become psychic? And she said, well, if I'm psychic, I won't make the wrong decisions. And I said to her, you can be as psychic as the Oracle of Delphi, but if you don't have your self-esteem, you won't make the right decision. And she stopped and she thought and she went, you know what, actually, yeah, every time I've made a wrong decision, it's come from a place of low self-esteem. And so, my work is very much about esteem. And, it's just one of those careers that needs a lot of re-educating, out there in the world, because it does have so much misunderstanding around it. But thankfully, I'm passionate about doing that. So that keeps me going.
Yeah, great. And as I said, you completely changed my perception of tarot cards and how you use it.
Yes. Yeah. I have a visual, if it helps, but we were going to do 3 exercises, weren't we?
Okay.
Is that what we're doing? We're doing
Yes.
3 exercises.
You're the boss.
Yeah. I'm the boss of this session. Don't say that to a Leo. We'll be here all day.
I'm just minding the time, but the floor is yours, and I'm really curious whatever you bring to the table.
Okay, fine. What I will do then is I'm just gonna, because this is about business, and I've just come back from Mexico, and I just want to show you something because I had an interesting message when I was in Mexico on New Year's Day, and this year is a number 4 year, so 2020. Yes, you add 2 and 2 together and you get 4. So the number 4 in the tarot is the Emperor. So this is the archetype that is governing this year. And a lot of people have also a negative reaction to this card within the tarot. It might not be death or the devil, but it brings up things about patriarchy, control, power, government, things being unfair, that type of thing. But actually, when my students start working with the Emperor, they find him to be incredibly supportive around building their empires, and the energy that they find from him is incredible. And if you look at him in the Kabbalah as well, he is on the spiritual plane, which is interesting because in Mexico, I was in the peninsula, Yucatan Peninsula, where there's loads of Mayan temples, and the Mayan gods descend like this from the sky, like the hanged man. So they're born from the sky. So all their gods are upside down. And when I was in Mexico on New Year's Day, I had very powerful connection with the Emperor. And then I kept seeing the hanged man everywhere. And the message that I got coming through very strongly was that if we don't have this year, then what we create is more like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the karmic wax of it are not going to be that great, and how real success in the world, external success, actually is to do with how successful you are internally. And that the important thing is to get ourselves in that place of alignment and integrity. It's always important, but seriously, the message that came through whilst I was in Mexico was like, this is paramount in this Emperor year. Of course, the more you build that's out of alignment, the harder that becomes. And so it really is an opportunity to be here with you today and get this message out, because it feels like it's for all of us, but it was divine timing. So I just wanted to put that in because I knew that was a new part of material, but I thought it was a really good thing to share and start off with people. Now, there are 3 things you can do that you don't really need even a deck for. Well, actually, you probably do need a deck for, but you don't need a tarot deck for. So if you are one of those people that are more comfortable with oracle decks, that is absolutely fine too. For one of these exercises, which is the tarot feelie, but you can do it with oracle cards. You will need a deck. And then there's 2 other things. One of them you will need a deck for, but there's one thing you won't need a deck for. So if you just take one thing away and you don't have a deck, then you can still take something away today if you want, that is going to help you get on the Fool's Journey, which is basically the hero's journey, which is basically your map of soul evolution. So you can still get that spiritual alignment that I've just spoken about with one of the things that I'm going to share today. So there's 3 things to share. There's the tarot feelie, there's the storytelling, and there's the how to live the Fool's Journey. Inga, which one would you like me to start with?
Tarot feelie.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. Do you have your deck at the ready?
This is very bizarre because I got a new oracle deck. I don't have my tarot cards nearby, but the thing is, it was a faulty deck. It doesn't have a guidebook, and it doesn't have the meanings. And it suddenly it dawned to me that this is what I can use, because it's It's very colorful. It's called
Hmm.
Mystical Shaman Oracle, but it just
Perfect.
pictures and no description. So I think for this purpose is very,
You know
yeah, I
what?
think it's for Tara Feely.
You know what? I was going to say you could do every single exercise. Actually, obviously, it's not going to be the fool's journey, but you can still journey with the cards with the 3 things that I'm going to show you. So you can still do the 3 things, and I think that is perfect. I mean, you might have seen, yeah, I'm so happy that you don't have a guidebook and you don't have meanings, because you know, yes, there's a structure to the tarot, and that's what differentiates it from oracle decks. So let me just go through that quickly. I think I've just spoken about how there's the fool's journey, excuse me, and that's 22 cards. So that's one deck, that's the major arcana, and then you have the minor arcana, which is 56 cards. Do you know what else we have that's 56 cards? Fit into 4 suits.
Just cards?
Yeah, exactly. Normal playing cards, right? So that is your more predictive element. So in the tarot, you have 56 cards of 4 suits, and it mirrors the playing cards, which is why gypsies use playing cards to tell fortunes, because the minor arcana is about what is happening here down on earth. And so your 4 suits, like spades would be swords, which is thought, and cups is water, which is hearts, which is feeling. And so it's the same, like that's where our playing cards come from, but nobody goes, ooh, playing cards, they're evil. And it just goes to show like how we've been conditioned and why we've been conditioned. A long time ago, high priests had divinatory breastplates, you know, but it was for them in their secret societies to do the divination, and we weren't, you know, we had to be kept in the dark. So this is where all of this conditioning really comes from. But yeah, basically you've got the minor arcana, which is like your playing cards, and they're more the puppets. And then you have the major arcana, which is your gods or your archetypes, and they're the puppeteers pulling the strings of the puppets. And that's how it differs from oracle cards. So oracle cards can have more than 78, which is 22 and 56. Can have more than 78 cards or less. It can be on anything. It doesn't need any structure whatsoever. If you use it for a reading, or you use tarot for a reading, then you're likely to get the same message, whether you use a tarot card or an oracle deck. But what you're missing is the puppeteers and that structure of the fool's journey, which is of a soul evolution, of the hero's journey. So it's like your spiritual map, your soul map is within the tarot, and it can really help you to progress and connect with a structure. Like anything, it's like with business. If we don't have a structure, then you know it can be really hard. But put a structure to knowledge. I think that's Napoleon Hill, didn't he say something like knowledge with no structure means equates to nothing. Yeah. So again, with an emperor year, you know, it's all about the structure, but we need to get that spirituality into the structure. So I'm not into meanings or books. I am into the structure and what the tarot is made of, and putting your focus in that to be the mirror to come back. If you're looking in meanings or you're looking in books, you're looking outside of what's directly in front of you. There is symbolism in these cards for a reason, and that is why they are a mirror. It's like having a mirror in front of you and looking up there to read what the mirror is about. It's like, what? So I think it's fantastic that you, of course, Inga, manifested a deck that has absolutely no book or you know, anything like that with it, which is fantastic. So perfect for Tarot Feely in particular, as you say, because it's called Tarot Feely because we shuffle the cards. You got them there? Have you shuffled?
Yeah, I've shuffled and one got out.
Okay, one got out. I'd like to hear it. So basically you take a card without looking. And so you could do this with playing cards if you want, although it's going to be harder and you are going to want to look up meanings and things along those lines. But hey, if you want to take part at home and you've only got playing cards, go for it. Just take them out, give them a shuffle, place them in your hand, and you're not looking at it. And it's not about guessing what the card is either. That's really important. So you're letting go of any need to know what the card is, okay? And then you just close your eyes and you tune in. So this might sound a little bit weird or wacky, but just apply your imagination and humor me. Okay, so if some of you have done Reiki, that's a good way to think about it, is the palm chakras in your hand, but you're just breathing the energy up from the card through your palm chakras, energy centers in your hands, up through your arms and into your body. So just relax. You might want to take a few deep breaths in and out first. And basically you're just relaxing and opening to the tarot. You're not trying to get to know it. And that's how we connect with divinity. Just like you wouldn't connect with a person very well if you were needy and wanting to know everything about them. But if you just relax and open yourself and welcome them into your energy, then you're in for a really beautiful relationship of discovery. So we're doing the same here with the tarot feeler. You're just breathing the energy up through your arms into your heart. And breathing it out and tuning in to any differences in your feelings. And then any visions or colours that you might see. And then anything you might hear. Hearing is normally the hardest one. So even if you don't get anything back audibly, still asking the question is important. And that might come through to you through feeling or through vision, but you just say, if there was a message in this card for me today, what is the message? And that's it. So when you're ready, you can just, once you've got that message, just give yourself a stretch or whatever you need to do to come back in the room.
And this is what we can do in the morning, right? So when we inquires like a message for the day, or we tune in for the day.
Exactly. Yeah. So people do it at any time. So it's about finding out what's a good time for you. Some people do it just before they go to bed, and then they put the card under their pillow and sleep on it, and then see what messages come up in the morning. So that's another way you can do it. I do it in the morning because it really helps me click in with the energy of the day and go, okay, I've clicked in now, so I've come from that spiritual alignment before I've gone into emperor mode, which is important. Yeah.
And I've noticed when I was doing it like consistently in the beginning of every day, the day was more saturated and it was more grounded when I didn't do the card, for instance, especially if you take a break after, 3 days of doing it and then you miss the day, the quality of the day is palpable.
I love how you say that, because it's very true. Also about the other thing that we do, the Fool's Journey. Like it's not a case that people get off the journey and then are like, I don't need to do that again. It's almost the opposite. It's like life in a way becomes 2D, which is hence the title 3D. And it's like I need to have this connection in my life, because otherwise I've turned the dial right down, and what's the point of living like that, so yeah, that's a great share. Totally. Thank you very much for that feedback. What did you get with this tarot feeling, Inga?
So basically, what I felt, you know, and I saw the picture, it's like a mini crater with lava, and it's bubbling to the surface, and it's like a liquid fire which is bubbling. And the message that I got, and basically it started with that I felt it so hot. The card itself was so hot and also pulsating, and it was a very bizarre feeling. And it's like the message was that like February will be very busy, like so basically like a rush hour all the time, and it's like bubbling and everything is so hot. And that when I asked the message, it was that I need to put structures in place now to prepare for that bubbly period of my life.
Oh, I've got tingles. Amazing. So you can see how important it is for that message to come through, huh? So that your tower builds correctly rather than get that leaning tower of pizza. Pizza.
Yeah, but can you see? So the picture is a coyote.
Okay, so you have to look up what coyote means.
Yeah, but it's also in the background there is like a planet, and then a lot of bubbles. Can you see? So these are like bubbles here, and it's orange, so it's maybe not so like seen
so maybe
here.
it's about the
it's
sun.
like, yeah, it's like also like a fire.
Yes, the element of fire. And it's so true how like we pick up on the picture. It's almost like an imprint on our hands. It's amazing. I know it's hard to get your head around, but just see it. Just try it and see it for yourself.
So
amazing. Okay. And I saw like I was stood on the top of a very tall hill, and there was massive English landscape, quite flat, so I was on the elevated ground with the hills and things in the distance, but I felt very high above. And I got the need to just keep clearing my space and thinking bigger and not contracting my energy or my mind. And then it was like I was Braveheart, and I got hold of the sword and put my sword up in the air and screamed out, "Freedom!" It felt great. And so, this is the Nine of Pentacles. So you can see she's kind of in the English countryside kind of feeling. And this is someone that's feeling really in a very good place, as you can probably see here. It's like the mindset is of someone that can have the freedom to do what she wants to do. She's supported enough to do that. It's a great feeling. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and as you can see, so you don't need to know the meaning. I got the message and it was so clear. And I think it wasn't a coincidence that I got a card without the meaning.
And it's a good thing that you've brought up about that, because it was interesting. I just caught myself saying, you need to know the meaning of coyote. So I understand, why people feel like they need to know the meaning, because you put me with a deck that isn't tarot. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know what the meaning is of coyote is. So, my thought instantly went, well, you need to look up on Google, the power animal coyote, and what that's about. But you're so right around how we don't need to know the meanings, because someone did this tarot feely the other day, and she got the Emperor, and she got the message about something to do with her South Node. We're talking astrology now, being in Capricorn and where the planets are and everything. And she didn't know that the Emperor was Aries. And when you look at the Emperor, he we're talking a lot about the emperor today, but then again, it is his year. When you look at the emperor, I'm trying to find it, but it's like I've shuffled it. I put it all in order whilst I was talking to you, and then habit made me shuffle. And now it could be in any one of these massive 78 cards. But if you look at the emperor, he has like ram's horns on his throne, right? And when she saw it, she was like, oh, see, there's my Capricorn, like that. And it was like, yes, that's totally the right message for you. But if you knew that the emperor was Aries, you might have gone, oh, I'm not right. Yeah. And so again, it's about tuning into it. So yeah, these are the which say that it's Aries, but she had exactly the right message. For her, it was perfect. And so sometimes knowing the meanings and things like that are actually a hindrance and a block. So you're completely right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You go with the internal message.
Yes. So, and as we mentioned before, it's a great way to start your morning, to ground yourself and to go. Or I think it's also can be used when you have like a dilemma, which path to take, then you can tune in for that message.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can either just I would always suggest doing it without asking a question first, because our subconscious is intelligent and it knows what is the most important thing. So another thing I do is past life regression, and sometimes people go like, can you take me to this life to do that, or things like that, and it's like, well, yes, we can set the intention, but to be honest, it's just the same as when we don't set an intention. It's really interesting. It's always the life that is right for you right now, or the information that is right for you right now to come up from the subconscious that pops up. And so it's almost like an illusion. At the same time, when you play the game, you really do need an intention. So I'm kind of contradicting myself. Like, the game will not let you be born, though, if your intention is not on par. So there is something there about sometimes just free flowing, and then sometimes just it's about asking the right question or the right intention. If your question is off or your intention is off, you're not going to get it. And it's like a mirror back to you of like, actually, this is the wrong question, or this is the wrong intention in the first place. And therefore you're better off not using it.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of play with questions and intentions and non-intentions there.
Okay. Be mindful of time. Let's move on to the second exercise.
The second exercise I'm not going to do because of time, but I will talk about it. Okay. And that's called storytelling. So, excuse me, I'm coming back from Mexico with a bug, so it might be a little bit sniffy. And basically, you can do it with an oracle deck if you don't have a tarot deck. But what you're doing is you're purposely choosing the cards. This time you're actually looking at them, you're going through them, and you're thinking, well, you're not even thinking. It's almost like just go with the feeling more. It's like instant kind of like, did this appear in my day yesterday? Or you might want to do it at the end of the day, yes or no. And you just end up with 2 piles, maybe 3 if there's some maybes. And then you put them out in the order of the sequence of the day. And it's incredible when you do that, but you have to do that every day, because if you do that every day, you start to see your patterns. And when you start to see your patterns, there in front of your face, so you keep a little chart, and tally up at the end of the week is what I do, and you're like, okay, I have to do something about this. So the awareness is intense. So this is something, again, it's a part of the course of the Transformational Truth of Tarot. We had a woman who'd been in a 17-year relationship. She broke that off in the first week of doing the Transformational Truth of Tarot in this exercise, because there wasn't enough towers and devils for her to do her storytelling a day. And so she was like, okay, I'm done. But
so it means only by reflecting on her day, she noticed that like her relationships are not good.
she knew that already, but there's a difference, isn't there? There's a difference between knowing that already and then having your pattern in front of your face daily. I mean, when you do work with the tarot, it's like being in front of a mirror. You know, how long do you think you can stand in a mirror for? It's like the equivalent of standing in the mirror for a week and going, no, I actually need to do something about this now. I'm actually really not happy about this now. So that's the power of working this way, instead of going on with your life, oh, another day's over, yeah, another year's over.
I'm so looking forward to put everything in, like not to test, because I know that it works, but just to see how what kind of information I will get. And I would suggest to everyone who is listening, choose at least one exercise. You don't need to do all of them, but just to play and see what it will show to you. Because especially if you completely new to tarot, what is this approach, choose one and do it for at least a week to see how it plays out.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, well said. So the final one, I need to share my screen.
So just to sum up, basically the second one, you do it at the end of the day. You choose how many cards you choose.
Well, this is it. You can do it at the end of the day, or you can do it at the beginning of the day. Again, I do it at the beginning of the day.
For the previous day.
For the previous day. I just find that by the time I finish my work day, I just, I want to get on with my personal life, and my morning is my time for me. Whereas some of my students do it at the end of the day because they feel like it lands the day for them. So it just depends on your life and where it best fits in your rhythm. And again, cards, I mean, people don't like it when I put my storytelling in the group because they're like, oh my God, how many cards has Tiffany put? I would say try and get it down to 8 if you can, but there is no, sometimes there's only one card. Sometimes there might be near on 78 cards. There is no wrong or right with tarot, particularly this way of working with it. But 8 is a good number if you want to get some structure around it.
Okay. And do you need to know the meanings, or you just look what card represents in the picture?
So for instance, the picture. So for instance, I had really bad sciatica, and I was one day and I was looking through the cards and I took some paracetamol and I was looking through and thinking, right, okay, well, what card here represents paracetamol? And it was the Ace of Cups, because if you see the Ace of Cups card, it's like the dove is kind of putting, see, there's quite a lot of Christian or Catholic kind of symbology, consummation, kind of that white tablet that goes in the chalice. The dove is doing that in the Ace of Cups. And I was like, oh, there's my paracetamol. And now I don't really like taking medication, but after that, here we go. Last card that I came to. Yeah. They have a sense of humor. So yeah, it's like, after that, I was like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. If it helps me, it's not that bad. And so it changed my perception about paracetamol. But of course, I do know the meanings. I have studied. I have taken courses, but it's about the symbology for me. It's not about the meanings. It's the difference between fast food and gourmeting in my thing. So basically, in terms of textbook, I would never really have seen this as paracetamol or medication. And so again, if you let go of that and you just go with the picture, it's amazing that the healing that message can have on you if you just allow yourself to free flow with it, how it can change your mindsets about things, rather than going to a book and going, oh, well, it's not about that, so I'm going to invalidate myself and my message. We don't want to be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Okay, final one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. As you can see, very busy desktop. That's why I do my storytelling in the morning. So yes, that's it. Thank you, Inga. So this is what I was just touching on before when I was saying that the Fool's Journey in the Tarot, which is the Major Arcana, which is this middle picture, is actually the Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. Quick little thing about what the hero's journey is. Joseph Campbell studied different mythologies around the world and realized that they all have the same, it's basically the same godhead. So he made a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he made this model here. And this model is about life, okay, and what we go through in life. And it's also behind every good book and every good film. So like he was friends with, you were talking about Star Wars just before we started recording, you know, George Lucas. So this is what's behind, this is Luke Skywalker, for instance. But I like to call him Frodo because it makes complete sense. However, if you fit this into any kind of like your hero, your comic book hero, your film hero, I'm sure you'll see that exactly the same thing. I can't watch a film now without going, oh, that's that part, oh, that's that part, or this is where the tarot is, like Witcher. Everybody's talking about Witcher at the moment, and there's the bard who is the fool, and Witcher is the magician, and Piglet is the high priestess, and it's amazing. So basically what you have here, this person is you, right? But it's also the fool. The fool is number 0 in the tarot, okay? And this is also Frodo, for instance. And he has the call to adventure, right? He has the ring, for instance, and this is his call to adventure. There's a step between going on the adventure, though, which is called the denial of the call, where we get stuck. This is where we get stuck in our comfort zones. And we need to meet a mentor. So, like, for instance, he meets Gandalf, yeah? And so then he can start to cross the threshold. So this is Gandalf. The very next card in the tarot is number 1, the magician. Okay, and then we cross the threshold, and crossing the threshold is the high priestess. She lives in 2 worlds. It's the next card, number 2. Okay, and then we go into trials and failures and helpers. This is like the empress, the emperor, and the high priest. That is your parents and education. Okay, and then we go into growth and new skills. So what we have there is the lovers, which is pubescent time, growth and skills. The chariot, our driving test, passing exams, things along those lines. And strength, that's what happens when we grow. We grow with strength. And we also start to reevaluate in the hermit, number 9. So this is all at this part here. And then we get to death and rebirth, which is the wheel here, number 10. And revelation, which is the justice point, which is that truth. And the hanged man, which is, about seeing things in a different way. And then we get to finally changes, which is the death. So you can see I've put the cards here in the last one to show you where they are. We have death there, which is the finally changes. So your ego dies, and you start becoming who you're meant to be becoming, rather than who am I. It's like, who am I becoming? And then we get to temperance, which is the transition point. So we're really, really changing. And then we get to devil, which is atonement, to make good, to work hard, to do your penance, to make it right. And then we get the tower and the star, to me, are basically the same. You can't receive the gift until you've been opened. And the tower really opens you. It's like, boom, there we go. And now you're ready to get the gift. And then you return changed. So the moon is being your subconscious, the sun is being your conscious. And then judgment is like, I've completely let go of my old life. And then when you've done that, when you've let go of judgment and your old life, the world is yours. So like Frodo, you know, he gets to the death point and then he returns changed, yes, to the Shire. And everybody in the film seems to return again. There's this sense of leaving their normal world, going through an initiation and returning changed. So you can do this. You can put yourself on that journey by actually just going with the Fool into, you can take it off Google. You can just Google the Fool and choose a card that really resonates with you. It's quite important to choose one that resonates with you because it's amazing how much the pictures are lived out in the day. Put it on your screensaver, for instance, and just ask three questions during the day. Who, what, where is this card playing out? How am I being like this card? Who's showing up in my life? What situations? And then at the end of the day, you just journal your day just normally, but then go back and apply the questions as you read over it. And you'll be amazed at the synchronicity and the messages and how the archetypes come alive to give you messages about going on your own journey to become your hero. There we go.
Amazing. And if anyone is listening to audio rather than watching the video where we share the graphic, so the graphic will be attached to your material so you can have a look at it. And again, so if you put everything in one go, like all these 3 exercises, it seems overwhelming. And you don't need to, especially if it's something new to you. I know that, for instance, this last exercise that Tiffany described, it's good for your journaling. So if you journal already, it's like a good supplement, good guiding point for you to incorporate tarot cards. And again, you don't need to buy a deck. You can Google the image and you can save it on your phone. And I have done it in the past. I know that, Tiffany, you ran, well, they were not the challenges, but the hero journey. And so there are prompts in terms, so today is a Fool's card, and it's just a reminder to keep that card in mind, noticing what happens around. And it just occurred to me that it's not just about the cards as such, but it also teaches us how to be more observing what happens around you, more mindful, noticing things and reflecting on them. So it's a perfect self-discovery tool if you use cards as a prompts and just noticing what happens in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do it. It's a wake up, basically, which is why, you know, people, when they've done the Fool's or Hero's journey, whatever you want to call it, go, I need to do that again, because you're just living with your eyes open. The magic, the synchronicity is like, it's mind-blowing. Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you, Tiffany, so much. And I will put also all your details so people can connect with you. They can get additional information, how to study tarot and how to connect with you. And so start this wonderful journey.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. It's been great fun. Thank you.